to get into it. I had when I was first looking up duvets, I had to understand what tog was. Like first I had to know.
I don't even know what tog is.
I was like, what do you measure it? What's the thickness? Then I found out it was tog. And then I just seen loads of numbers. So then I called my dad and I was like, Dad, what tog duvet do you have? And he was like, 4.3.
Oh!
Yeah. So I called my mum. I was like, right, I don't know about that. I was like, Mum, what tog duvet do you have? And she was like, 13.5. I was like, right, well, go on.
Oh, they've got a split one.
Yeah, they've got so basically they've got a split.
Really?
Yeah, they've got a split duvet.
That's kind of cute though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's middle class.
Could you imagine? That's my parents' way of telling me that they don't live together anymore. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, cool. So I got the middle ground, 10.4, right?
What's it saying?
You know what? It was decent for September, October.
Oh, and then November kicked in and it was like, you need to up it.
It's not the one. I think I need to.
An autumn duvet.
I think I actually need to up it to the 13. And then those summer months, that's when you need the 4.3. Do you know what I mean?
That just sounds like a bed sheet.
Yeah, I need the weight.
Yeah.
I need the weight.
Yeah.
Really?
Really?
To be fair,
Super.
I do understand that because,
Cozy.
like, especially during the winter months, I'd rather have my radiator off and then a big duvet.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
That's the decision I made this year.
However, I am prone to nosebleeds, so like when I wake up in the morning and it's
Really?
freezing, I'm like, it's so bro, it's crazy.
That is crazy. I say that I found nosebleeds fascinating, only because I've never had one. And
Sorry.
so like, do you feel it coming, or is it literally just like a runny nose?
No, so you feel so it's not like a runny nose. So Joe, when like your nose is running and you need to sniff,
Yeah.
it like if you try to sniff and you got a nosebleed, it doesn't do anything. Bro. You're just doing it and it just keeps. It's like a faucet. And it just keeps running and you're sniffing. And it's just there.
Can I tell you a mad story?
And you can feel it up here. Tell the story. We're in, by the way.
Cool.
Okay.
So remember King's School?
I do remember King's School.
Once upon a time, I don't know if
Me and I went to the same private school.
I don't know if you remember, but once upon a time, King's School used to have a vending machine in the old building. There was a vending machine.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
There was an old vending machine. I don't know why I was there. I had no money or anything like that.
Jack.
Me with my hook head, I've swung it back to like turn around. It was behind me. I've smacked her right in the nose. I've never seen so much blood in my life. I thought I killed her. I thought I full on killed her. I was like, I don't know, 6, 7. I don't know how old I was. But yeah, like she was crying. She was on the floor. I saw loads of blood.
She was like the prized child at school as well.
Her.
Honestly, there could have been no worse student to have done this to.
Honestly, I think Miss Sovey came out and they were like, what happened? There's just blood on the back of my head. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, yeah. I've been traumatized ever since.
I actually don't listen to this podcast, but if you do, shout out. Elijah's so sorry. He's so sorry.
Shout out to them.
But it's actually interesting we're chatting about duvets and like, I'm not even going to lie, that was so smooth.
That's a really good segue, to be fair.
Yeah, it's a really good segue, right. So obviously,
I'm here.
winter and autumn duvets for the winter and autumn months, right? Also known as sad season. Have you heard people call it sad season?
Never.
Like,
really?
With capital letters.
Really?
Sad season?
SAD. Sad season.
Never.
You're on Twitter. How have you not heard this?
Yeah,
I'm on Twitter, but like...
I feel like your Twitter is very like egocentric. Like
Super. No, you're not even wrong. And like I've got like serial tweeters, so my feed is literally just...
Yeah.
You remember Chucker?
Oh, I love Chucker.
It's Chucker, Darnell, and maybe Devani.
You know what? I actually live for Devani's tweets. Not Devani's tweets. No. Darnell's tweets.
Darnell's hilarious.
I'm sure your tweets are good, Devani, but like...
Yeah.
Darnell's tweets absolutely like... I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
whenever I see it.
Sometimes when I'm like... It's mad, but sometimes when I'm sad, I'll just go through Darnell's likes and I'll just scroll.
Yeah.
And I'll just see what he's liked. And it's a good journey.
But yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh, we didn't even introduce you, bro. We're jumping ahead. If you know, you know. But on a real, guys, we've got Elijah here, also known as the guy behind Misrepresented.
Yeah.
Chat to us about that a little bit before we go into it, Elijah.
Yeah, I do a YouTube channel similar to NKC where we talk about different controversial topics. I get different opinions, different perspectives. And I love doing it.
What was the last topic you did?
Spoke about Travis Scott.
Interesting. What were the thoughts on that?
The guys, I'm quite annoyed because the girls that I wanted to get on, I couldn't get on in the time space, and because I'm trying to get episodes out a bit more consistently.
Ouch.
Yeah.
The way you look this way.
Oh no, not even. But I'm trying to get episodes out like every 2 weeks or something,
Yeah.
or a new episode. I want to say like 80% of the guys were like, "Oh yeah, it wasn't his fault," or
Of course.
stuff like that. But then
Interesting.
the backlash that I've got is a lot of people saying it is his fault. It's quite interesting.
What were the demographic of the lads that you got on there?
Just my boys, really.
yeah. Interesting. That lad. What's your favourite topic that you've done?
Ah,
This is an interesting one because I swear he tweets this or like
Oh, yeah.
posts this. Oh, this is low key my
Like, this is my
favorite every
favourite
single
one.
time.
Yeah.
Every single one's his low key favorite.
it is. They are. My favorite episode so far might be either Shamima Begum, because I think we actually added a lot of discourse to that conversation, or we spoke about dark humor.
I saw your.
too.
Is it Shamima?
I think it's. I think I've got it wrong because everyone calls it Shamima. But
I
thought it
think
was
she
Shamima.
said Shamima, but I've been saying Shemima for time.
Too right.
But I liked that episode that you did. And what I found really interesting is people are heartless.
Oh yeah.
Like, people are heartless.
Don't
We're
you?
not going to go into it now, but like,
Another time.
my view is, as a 15-year-old girl, she was groomed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people are saying, you know what? Send her to Pakistan. Keep her there. She's not even from there, bro.
She's from like, East London or something.
She's
like
from East London and her parents are from Bangladesh. They literally just point at the map like, yeah.
Send to
Do you know what I mean?
Banished.
Or they were just like, which airline has the cheapest flights?
that. Yeah. Super.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just like, yeah, son.
It was funny as well because one person must have sent me a TikTok of a lady that's just been accepted back into the UK who apparently used to be a part of ISIS. So I don't know if it's favoritism. I don't know. But yeah, man, it's a bit crazy. Yeah, British people don't really care about Shamima like that.
They really don't.
Don't
even
care
British
about
people.
a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
You're right. Not even British people. Like, about people on Misrep were like, yeah, no, don't let her back in. Back of my friends were like, don't let her back in.
I'm like, do you know what you're talking about?
It's crazy.
A lot of people don't know anything about it though, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's, I think that's
I think
a large...
people know what they want to know.
Exactly.
They were like, she went over there. She tried to join ISIS. That's good enough for me.
People
Or that's like the older generation. You got to remember that the older generation is in charge of the country, so they make the decisions.
well,
And they
Misrep's
don't
like
really
young
like
people.
to look for all the facts or perspective
Too right, actually.
or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I'm not personally surprised. Like
Disappointed.
disappointed maybe,
Disappoint
but
might be
not
the word.
surprised.
This point might be the word.
But yeah, guys, check out Misrepresented.
It's where we
YouTube.
started.
Where we, you know what? It is where we
actually where we
started.
started.
It's
Our
not.
our first ever debut on the camera with a microphone. I don't know why I said it like
With
that. Anyway, I don't know why I said it like that. Okay.
It wasn't.
Making it sound
Yeah,
suspect.
yeah, I don't know why I said it like that. It was basically on
On
this
Misrep.
rep.
It wasn't.
So
You two have had conversations before. There just wasn't a microphone.
Obviously, we've had
True, yeah.
conversations.
That's all it is.
we never spoke
Always
to
been
each other before.
opinionated.
Imagine.
We never spoke to each other before. But yeah, his handle, his deets will be down below. Make sure you like, follow, check it out, all that jazz. Show some love. But yeah, anyway, a sad season. So, right.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah, sorry.
Bang that
So,
back
capital SAD,
Yes.
which is basically the acronym for seasonal affective disorder. So, like, I don't know, maybe it's just the demographic of people that I follow on Instagram and Twitter, where it's like, as soon as it hit October 1st, everyone's like, oh, sad season. Do you know
That's
what I mean?
true.
Like,
As soon as
oh,
it
just
started to get dark.
Yeah, and everyone's like people, like a lot of people do, I don't know statistics, but people do suffer from what is known as seasonal affective disorder. So the lack of sunlight then makes people feel,
I hear that.
well, it makes people feel what's less
Sad.
sad. There we go, girl.
Feel sad. But
I
I
heard-
thought
Yeah.
I've
Makes me feel
known
more
about
like-
this for time,
Yeah.
but I always thought it was people that predominantly just stayed indoors
Doors.
that felt the effects. Because my grandma mentioned it to me when I was younger,
Yeah.
and she was in a wheelchair and she was blind. So I used to think,
So
how do you know?
No, but the thing is, though, it is about like it's your body's receptance to
But
the
yeah,
sunlight.
I think it was
It's your
the
body's
heat,
receptance to the sunlight.
the
yeah.
sunlight, because she could see shadows, I guess. So
No, but your body
That's
does have
hilarious.
hormones that do actually respond to that. Your body has hormones that respond to sunlight anyway.
Yeah.
So even if you can't actually see, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think for me anyway, I do find in like the autumn, winter months, I just get so lethargic. Like when I come home from work at 5 o'clock, it's dark. That's my day done. Don't ask me to go gym.
Right.
Don't ask me to see you.
Yeah.
Like I physically can't do it. Like I don't go to the gym in the winter because it's dark when I wake up. I can't leave the house.
I hear it.
It's
It
dark when I
takes
come
some
back.
coaxing to get me out of the house, to be fair, at the minute. I mean, it's literally a blizzard outside. No one can see it right now, but we braved the weather to come here. Particularly Elijah, you had to drive
The
some
M1?
distance.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I live down the road.
But we got here safe, so it's fine.
So that led us to think like, what are the sort of stuff that people do during like the darker months to like keep themselves upbeat, keep themselves, you know,
Tough.
Yeah, like how do you make yourself feel happy?
like what is your go-to things if you're feeling a bit down, if you're feeling a bit under the weather? What are the go-to things, Elijah?
What are the go-to things for me? No. Sounding like my man. I think I try and keep myself predominantly active in regards to anything really. So like, I hear what you're saying. Like my family's crazy anemic, so we get tired all the time. I eat a quarter chicken. I'm ready to sleep. Like I'll go to bed. I'm like 2, right? So like when it hits 5, I get home from work and I have a little snack. I want to sleep, but
You're one of them uncles.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
trust me. Christmas Day,
When
I
someone
might
tries to
sleep
wake you up, you're like,
twice.
I'm just resting my eyes.
Oh, I'm gone. The amount of cinemas I fell asleep in. But I just stay active. I don't know if that's me being happy though, or that's me not being sad. But I'll just tell myself that I need to get something done today.
That sounds like more not being tired than being happy.
Yeah,
So
true,
if
right.
you were feeling sad, what are you gonna do?
Just generally, it doesn't have to be in the winter.
I'm eating.
Eating.
I'm literally eating.
Do you know what I said before? I made a little list of what I do to make myself happy. And I was trying to keep it cool and I put eating last on the list, but we all know it's first.
I'm super eating. I'm eating. I'm eating, or I'm going on a walk. But so I'm super calm with like chatting to myself.
Yeah.
So I'll go on a walk, and then I'll just like reflect on my day and stuff like that. And then next thing you know, I've done like 4 miles. But like that's like when I was
Rotted.
yeah, too
He has
right.
got long legs though.
That's
Yeah,
true.
me.
He walked
6
for half
steps.
an hour.
So like this time last year when I was doing my masters, I was doing my diss, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not writing any more words, but I need to write more words. And like I was just in no space. I'd go for a walk. A walk would cheer me up. I'd go for a walk, and I wouldn't take my headphones. I wouldn't take my phone. I just walk. Yeah.
That's mad.
Bold without a headphone.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like walking without earphones or headphones. I just think that's a bit mad because sometimes people need that like
Yeah.
auditory stimulation,
Yeah.
defo.
Yeah, I hear you.
Whereas for me, it's music. Do you know what I mean? I just always put music on. Do you know what I mean? I'll sing along. I'll dance along. Do you know what I mean? I love it.
Dance
Super.
it out.
It doesn't matter. Actually, I found right. I've never ever related to this. Do you know when people are feeling sad, they like to listen to sad songs, right?
Oh.
It just doesn't work for me. Like, do you know when people like heartbreak and they listen to heartbreak songs? I'm like, surely that's really counterintuitive. Like, I don't understand.
You're
I'm
hurting
like,
yourself.
I get that you can relate, but like, is that the best thing?
You're
for
hurting.
you
What's
right
that Beyonce
now?
song? Broken Heart. Is that what it's called?
Broken hearted girl.
Broken Hearted Girl, yeah?
Yeah.
I remember when I went through like my proper breakup. And sad songs, you don't look for sad songs, they find you.
Yeah.
They find you. I've gone, alright,
Capital
cool.
One just played out of nowhere.
You get me? for no reason. And I'm on my Spotify. I ain't got no sad music on my Spotify. Beyonce found me, Broken Hearted Girl. Rude boy, I'm doing this jog. And I'm relating to every lyric. And then I had to sit down on a bench. And I'm being like, why do people go through this?
Yeah,
Like,
it's
that's a
actually
problem.
mad. Like, sometimes I feel sad and all of a sudden I'm turning tables with Adele. I'm just like,
Oh, I've not heard it.
No. I'm just like, I can't. I don't know. It's just not my thing. So like, if I'm feeling sad, it needs to be like music that is gonna uplift me. Do you know what I mean?
I'm going to
Whatever
say
that
something
is.
controversial about that.
Right,
though.
go on then.
I literally don't listen to Adele at all because I find her music too sad.
Yeah, same. I don't listen
Like,
to Adele.
everything is so sad. I know you've been
I
hyping
love
up
Adele. No, I love Adele as a human being.
Oh,
but
she's
like,
great.
Yeah, she's great.
there's
but
only so many piano ballads that I can listen to.
That's
Like,
funny.
Do you know what I mean?
That's funny.
And everyone's like, "Oh, have you listened to Adele?" I'm like, "Listen, it is a struggle
It's a
right now.
struggle
It's
to
so
listen to Adele.
cold out. I'm not about to curl up indoors listening to Adele.
None of us have heard the new album.
No."
Alright, cool.
yeah.
We'll be that packed.
Yeah, we don't
I'm on
listen
that.
to
And
Adele.
I'm not gonna lie, it's probably gonna stay like that for me. Like, people, I've seen like snippets on people's stories, and I thought, oh, maybe she's gonna bring out something different. As soon as I heard the piano, no,
Yeah.
I thought I'm not committing to it because it's just sad music. But I can see why people listen to sad music.
Here's a controversial question for you. Do you think people enjoy that feeling of sadness?
Well,
Because, do you know when like Adele's music's out, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to listen to Adele and cry myself to sleep. And I'm just a bit like, bro. Like,
Well, I mean, like that. This is literally what I was about to say. Like, I can understand why people listen to sad music because some people force themselves to feel the feels, and then they can just come out the other side of it and be like, okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we got that out the way.
Too
That's fine. Like, I do the same thing with films. I don't do it with music.
To be fair, I'm like that when
Because-
I'm angry. Just let you like,
Yeah,
let
like,
it out.
you just gotta feel the
Yeah, I
feeling,
guess
and then
so.
you can get past it. Because sometimes I can go like, God, like months and months without crying, and then I think, oh God, this is not gonna end well. Like, I bet you something really stupid's gonna trigger me in a really embarrassing place, and I'm gonna cry. So I'll like force myself to watch something really sad, like Pursuit of Happiness or something, and cry it out for like 20 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good for another couple of months.
20 minutes.
That's a long cry. Do you know that is a long cry? Do you know, like when you've finished, like your eyes get all puffy and then it's like...
Oh, I'm
don't-
such an ugly crier. Like Kim Kardashian, ugly crying face.
I still think she looked quite nice.
No, she didn't. I hear what you're saying.
Very red.
I hear what you're saying. I super do hear what you're saying. That's funny. Yeah, people enjoy being sad, or people enjoy like, I think the whole idealism of Adele is like, oh my life, Adele's going through something that I can kind of empathize with or sympathize with,
Yeah.
and then like, yeah. But I'm pretty sure this album's about divorce. So when I'm seeing 16-year-old girls, like, who you been married to? Say
Yeah,
less.
but 16-year-old breakups feels like divorce.
Divorce. Say less. But yeah, shout out to 30. I might watch it on the drive
Yeah,
back.
because like again, like
Listen to it.
I feel like some people do like, I don't know, lean into that feeling of like, maybe like, oh, I don't want to sound insensitive, but sometimes it does look from certain points of view, especially when you see stuff on Instagram, because everything on Instagram is so emphasized, where people are like, okay, right, it's November now, I'm going to be really sad, so I'm just going to like wallow.
What's that word?
Wallow.
Never heard of that.
Well, I don't want to describe it like this, but they usually say like, it sounds bad because it's not in to do with the context we've used it in,
Okay.
but wallowing is like pigs wallow in mud. Like, they love sitting in it. Do you know what I mean?
We're running with that
It's
word.
just,
though,
yeah, it's just kind of maybe almost a basking in negativity.
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
They
And I'm
love
not
sitting
saying,
in it.
but like,
Wallow.
and I'm not talking about people who actually are depressed or people who do have seasonal affective disorder. Like, do you know, sometimes it just, some people like to be on certain waves of like, I don't know, feelings that other people are on. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. So
Or
I'm not,
like it's trendy to be sad because bare people are sad when it's cold.
Yeah. Super.
effectively, and without sounding like insensitive, and I'm not speaking about people who actually have like battles with depression and all of that, but like, do you know when like there are always like hypes or like waves to go and enjoy? Like, do you remember when, like, this is so random, but do you remember when everyone just loved dubstep?
Right.
And everyone was just listening to it.
like college days.
Yeah, like I think I was in sixth form,
Yeah.
or maybe I was in school, like maybe like 10,
Bit of knife
10
fight
11,
in that.
and everyone was just listening to Skrillex. And then I remember one of my friends like came up to me in school, they were like, "Sir, I think there's something wrong with me." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Because I don't like this."
Yeah.
And everybody loves Skrillex and the Jamie XX remixes of everything. And I was like,
That's
you know what?
true.
I don't like it either.
That little realization.
I think people find comfort in in the collective.
Yeah.
Oh, soup.
100%.
I'll be the first to say this. Squid Game is mid, and like no one can ever convince me that it's a great TV show.
Okay, disagree.
Yeah,
But,
disagree.
It's calm, but
Whoa.
but I hear what you're saying. There's solidarity in like
Yeah.
choosing the masses in it. Yeah, super. I was a fan of dubstep.
You were.
I was a fan of dubstep.
Okay.
I was a fan of. I'm not
You're
gonna
a
out
real
myself,
fan.
but you
You're
get
a
me.
real
Shout out to Skrillex. That's my dog. But no, yeah, you're right. Super duper right.
I'm just trying to think of any other things that like I try to do.
But when you're sad,
Yeah, to make myself like happier. Something that I don't like to do, but I actually realize is really, really helpful to me is being around other people. So like for me, usually because I am more introverted. I know I'm loud, guys, but that isn't what the definition of introverted and
Tell 'em.
extrovert is. Do you know what I mean?
Tell 'em.
So like being around other people actually is quite draining for me. Like I have to psych myself up. But usually like, if I am feeling down, being around other people does help, even though I don't actually want to do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
oh, okay, I hear that.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I don't really feel like being around people. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause I
But it
feel
does help
down.
you.
But when I'm out actually with people, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having such a great time.
Oh,
Yeah.
The
That-
game's like.
We were literally talking about this earlier, weren't we? Like, I think it's definitely something that's like a back and forth with me. I like to take myself out of the game. Like, I like to go and have a couple of days to myself where I'm like, okay, I'm going to take my L, go through it, and then come out the other side. And then I feel like I can handle my shit again. But other people don't like that. They really hate that I do that. They're just like, no, we've got to do something. You've got to respond. You've got to do this.
Super.
And like, if I am with people, yeah, that's fine. Like, I do feel good, like you say, but I feel like I'm putting pause on dealing with the problem, and I don't like doing that. So, yeah, but I feel like other people genuinely get upset when that's my approach on things. People like to help, and it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice knowing that people want to put in that help, but I don't deal with things that way.
Yeah.
I like to get cozy,
And then be by
do some
yourself,
stuff for
yeah.
myself, and then work through the problem in my head.
Yeah.
Maybe listen to some good music. Maybe pop on a film that I
Yeah.
can have a cry to, and then work past the problem. But yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the best way to deal with it.
I mean, it's what
But-
works for you because, like, whenever people feel down, you have to know, right, what's going to work for you. Like, my
Yeah.
housemate has, like, a list of stuff where she's like, okay, right.
Or she writes it out.
Yeah, she has, like, a list of stuff, like, I can do any one of these things and I know it's going to boost my mood. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can go on a walk. I can listen to a podcast. She loves Taylor Swift, so she listens to Taylor Swift. She's loving it. She's in her element. Do you
I've
know what I
seen
mean?
her tweeting about
Exactly.
it.
If she,
She's
like,
buzzing.
honestly,
Like a diehard Taylor Swift fan.
Oh, like
Bro,
you would not believe.
bro, does that even match where she is right now? Die Hard.
I think
doesn't
she's
even cut it,
changed her handle on
You know,
on Twitter
maybe.
to something
But
to do
like,
with Taylor.
I know if she's down, all I have to do is get her a cup of tea and put on Shrek 2.
But that makes sense.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to
That
like,
makes
it's not.
I'm not trying to downgrade all of her problems into a DreamWorks motion picture. Do you know what I mean?
It solves a lot,
But
though.
It
Some
does.
things
It,
just
it like
help.
even if it is just for that hour and 22 minutes. Yeah.
Someone tried to tell me. Someone tried to tell me yesterday that Shrek the Third's funnier than Shrek.
You know
Shrek
what?
2.
It's wrong. It is wrong. Like depending on what day you catch me on, if you said what's the best Shrek film, it would either be the first one or the second one.
Oh, it's not even
But
that.
I love Justin Timberlake, but Shrek 3 will never cut it.
There's not a better animated film than Shrek 2, and like I'll die on that hill.
Do you know what's mad though? Like, do you know what DreamWorks film like I love, and I almost cried when it came out on Netflix this year? Shark Tale.
It's a great film.
I love it.
It's a great film. It's a great film. I could probably do word for word. I'm not even joking.
Yeah,
it's
same,
a great film.
Same. It's amazing.
But it's not better than Shrek 2.
That's true.
And can I say something?
Okay, go on.
Other than Shark Tale,
Yeah.
Pursuit of Happiness, and what's the other side one? Is it like 7 Days? Will Smith.
Oh, I don't know. He's done
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 7 days. It's
Seven something.
Something.
Yeah.
Seven
Everything
something.
else,
Help us out. Put it below.
I think he's a terrible actor. I think he's.
Bro, have you watched Fresh Prince?
I think everything that he acts, he plays himself. Oh, yeah, everything that he actually plays himself. I wasn't even a fan of I Am Legend.
Ooh, so now that you said that, he's bringing out a new film.
Don't you think
Or
he's a really complex
documentary.
person though? So
Well,
technically he has
He's a
the
lovable
scope to do
guy.
that.
He's a lovable
This is
guy.
what he's brought out. He's brought out this documentary, and it was
Him and Jada.
best shape of his life or something,
Yeah.
and it turned into him wanting to kill himself because he didn't like working out that much, and then it basically turned into a documentary about how everything that Will Smith is an act, and that's not him, and he just does it to deal with how he feels about things. Like,
William.
so now that you've said that, he's given the performance of his life.
Wait, what do you mean? Everything.
Bet you feel like an arsehole now.
Yeah.
I don't. He's fine. But that's interesting. Might have to watch it.
Have you been seeing like all the like little headlines that have been coming out with coming out about Will Smith recently?
What, Jada?
Just everything. Like Will Smith has revealed. Will Smith has just said, and I'm just a bit like, is
Leave
his?
the man alone.
I was like, is his therapist leaking to the press? Because I've seen stuff, and I'm like, you don't have to say everything.
We were gonna do a question on it on Misrep, and then it got a little bit too pop culture-y, so we kind of avoided it. But the main consensus that I had with a lot of people was Will Smith probably knows that these things are going to get I think he's like one step ahead of everything.
Oh, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
The amount of money he's got, the amount of power, like, do you know what I mean?
Guys, I can't say he's fine, but yeah, I think he kind of knows what's going on.
Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what is actually what Will Smith has said, or what someone's just like, I'm just going to put something brazy and say Will Smith said it, and everyone will believe it because it could be true.
Without a doubt, without a doubt.
Do you know what I mean?
It's crazy. It's crazy that he's turning into a villain as well.
Has
And
he?
He's slowly like, well, people are like,
Yeah.
I can't say a villain, but people are slowly not messing with Will Smith anymore.
Yeah. I've seen that. I don't think, for me, if there were to be any villain in the Smith family, it's going to be Jada. There's nothing she can do. I know it sounds sounds awful because no one is like far from redemption, but she is.
She ain't my favorite. She ain't my favorite still, but she acts right.
What?
Yeah,
She's wild.
she acts.
She says something.
Acts?
Oh, as in like she
her-
acts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Comma, right?
oh, I thought you meant she acts right. And I was like, she was just in an entanglement. Oh, but she acts right. Okay,
She
cool.
acts.
I was gonna say
right?
she definitely
Yeah.
does
Kids,
not act
this is
right.
the power of punctuation.
Yeah, that's one of my weaknesses.
I know a few
sorry.
people I could give a few lessons.
I'm
Yeah.
terrible at it. I'm terrible at it.
But we
Nah.
digress. We digress.
Yeah,
We digress.
she is something else. Yeah, she does act. So I guess, who knows? Are you saying it's for publicity or?
She's got, I think them lot know what they're doing. Shout out to Red Table Talks. Shout out to
Do you know
Jada.
what? It is such a successful discussion show or whatever it is.
What, Red
They
Table?
are savage though.
When you got the pull of the Smiths, and like I only got into, apparently it's been going on for time, but I only got into it when
I only got into it like last year.
with the Chloe and Jordan. Is that her name? Jordan?
Oh, Chloe and Tristan.
Tristan, and then
Oh,
there was,
and her friend Jordan.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jordan
Okay.
Woods, yeah, and then she's a big friend of the Smiths.
Oh.
So Jordan and Jaden used to be proper cool when they were younger.
I only got onto it with the August Alsina thing.
Oh yeah, actually,
Yeah, so like that, like
they had a good
recently,
run. They had a
yeah.
super duper good run. But yeah, man, I watched that when I'm sad.
Red Table Talks.
Too
Because
right.
you were like, you know what? My life may be chaotic, but
Yeah, ain't this.
that takes the biscuit.
I'm not Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, that's actually a bit mad. But yeah. So this led to an interesting question, or this, I don't know, this discussion. And we actually listened to a podcast on it. So it's a really interesting podcast called The Diary of a CEO by a guy called Stephen Bartlett. It's actually a really good podcast. So I listened to this episode and then I've like listened to loads and loads of his other podcasts.
Okay.
It's so good, so insightful on loads of different topics, and he interviews like CEOs, really successful people, and like he just understands like their like outlook on life, their thoughts, their views, etc. And you're gonna have to really forgive me, but I cannot remember the name of the guy that he interviewed.
Mo Gorfa?
Well done, thank you.
Hey.
Episode 101, I know that. Though.
Proper.
And basically,
Google
Mo
X.
has basically said, happiness is a choice.
Who said that?
Mo. So the CEO that Stephen Bartlett interviewed. So basically, he's saying that happiness is your personal responsibility.
Okay.
So if you're not happy, it's down to you. Like it's your fault. He didn't say it like
paraphrase.
that. He didn't say it like that. Because
I hear him.
if you say stuff like that, like, if he said it like that, he'd sound like an arsehole.
Yeah.
But he did say, like, verbatim what he said it was, like, your happiness is your personal responsibility, and, like, lack thereof personal responsibility would mean no happiness.
Okay.
When I first heard that, the way I gasped, right? I'm not asthmatic, but I grabbed an inhaler. Do you know what I mean? Because
I was pulling her face. I was literally sat there like, eh?
Because, like, not only, like, my initial reaction was like, nah, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And two, yeah, it was just really, really insensitive. But then I had to kind of take a step back and think, right, well, just because it's insensitive, does it actually mean it's not true? Like I said, the example to Hannah, like, you can say to someone, yo, your breath stinks. That's really insensitive.
Sorry, I drank the peppermint tea.
If your breath stinks, it stinks. Like, it doesn't make what I said any less of a fact.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just really mean in how I said it.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really interesting. So when he said it, like, I did really, really gasp. But he broke it down in such a way that he was basically saying, like, there's things that you can do to try and understand, first of all, your lack of happiness. And then two, get yourself to that place again. And I'm not going to lie, I was on the fence for so long of that podcast because I'm like, I've got friends who struggle with clinical depression, and for me to say, right, you know, you can do something about that. To them, it's disgusting. Like, if someone said that to them, I'd fight him. Do you know what I mean? I really would. That's what I've got my nails for. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I just thought it was a really, really interesting perspective.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I actually sent this to Estelle, and someone had sent it to me, and it'd gone round our friendship group, and someone sent it to me because I was having a particularly, like, busy week. It wasn't even, like, a hard week. It wasn't anything that was negative in any way. They just said, like, oh, I think this will be useful, so give this a listen. So I thought, do you know what? I don't really listen to a lot of CEO podcasts or anything like that because my dreams do not lay in working for myself or whatever. But I was like, do you know what? I'm going to listen to it. I've got some time today. I'm going to do it. It's like an hour and 45 minutes long, so you got to bear with it. And he talks about a bunch of different things.
Listen to it on your drive back, mate.
Yeah.
I probably will.
And we'll put the link in the bio or wherever.
The comments. I don't know. You'll see
what
it.
do the YouTubers say? Like, click below.
Click below. We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're definitely not there.
Just see the underlined HTTP link.
It'll be there.
Yeah.
But I started listening to it, and this guy, like, he's the CEO of, or was the CEO of Google X at the time. But he's been CEO of various different huge companies, and he was like, listen, I was at 29, CEO of Google X, and I was clinically depressed. He was like, I'd got everything that I'd ever wanted or aimed for, and I'd got it, and I'd gone out and had worked hard for it. But I was sat there with the nice house, the perfect wife, the 2 kids, and I was clinically depressed. And he was just like, I just don't know how I got there. But he would talk to his son about things. His son would simply describe things in a way that would just make him, like, click.
It could just be so profound.
Yeah. He was just like, wow, okay, that I'm just going to start coming to this kid for my advice more often. So he literally would go up to his 3-year-old kid who would just say, like, oh, why didn't you ask me, Dad? And then spout off some random little bit of wisdom. I thought that was so cute. And he was like, so I started living my life more like a simplified version of how a 3-year-old might think. And then he ended up losing his son as well.
I think his son was 21 at the time.
21. He had
appendicitis.
Appendectomy, and, like, a series of things just went wrong, like human error, and he ended up losing his son. And his son had something tattooed on him. It was like the last thing he said to him. And he said, the gravity of the battle means nothing to those at peace. And he was like, wow, okay, that was so profound. And so, like, my kid, he was like, this is such a deep, meaningful thing. And he just had this tattooed, and I hadn't seen it before, and it's the last thing that I learned from him. Yeah. And then his daughter had said, like, oh, what was his son's name? I don't even know. Ali. He said, oh, I had a dream that I was part of everyone and I was everywhere. So he was like, right, I'm going to write this book on how to make people happy. And this is how I'm going to do that for him. So he was like, at the end of the day, like, I couldn't change what had happened. I couldn't get my son back, but I could do something about it to make some good come out of it. So that's where he got the concept of, I think it was 1 million people happy, is like what he's called the book. And I think he's achieved like 52 million at this point, and he wants to get into the billions.
Of what?
Of making people happy.
So this guy is like, he's a software designer, engineer, and whatever. So like everything that he does, he like quantifies for like measurement.
Yeah.
So like him doing that book and him doing like the videos and whatever, he'd then quantify, okay, from how many people have like looked at this, how many people have taken it on board, and 2 felt a change, and he's basically like quantified that to a certain amount of people who have now found happiness, or changed their thought processes,
steps to be happy, and also. So that was one way that you get counted, and another way is telling other people about it. So technically it would be, we would count 3 now by talking about it and getting the message out, and then other people would send that message to other people, and then he would quantify it that way. Yeah. He was like, he described it as a positive Ponzi scheme.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
So,
but I think the most challenging thing from what he said is, for us as humans, or for me as a person anyway, to realise that there is a lot more within my own volition than I probably realise. Because he was like, okay, right, circumstances happen, but it's how you assign meaning to these circumstances.
That makes sense.
That affects the way that you live.
That's when I started listening, is when he was talking about the death of his son, and how he couldn't just sit there and let it consume him with being negative and upset and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, if this guy can go through that, he's clearly got some sort of method to get yourself out of it. And he breaks it down into a formula. Now I can't remember the formula because my brain doesn't work like that, but he also broke it down into 3 different questions you can ask yourself, which I thought was pretty interesting, because it's something that a lot of people do but don't realise they're doing it. And I know a lot of people that have gone to therapy. I was talking to someone after I listened to this who does go to therapy, and his therapist tells him similar ways as this podcast basically was describing, to break down how he's thinking about things. So the first question is, you're thinking about situations, say you I think he gave an example of your significant other says something mean to you, and then you go off and you think like, oh, they want to break up with me or whatever. They said to break it down into a situation, saying the first question is this true? Do they really want to break up with you, or have they just said something mean to you? They've said something mean. It's about weighing your expectation and how you are thinking about a situation, the perspective you're looking at it, and breaking it down to, is it true, is it not? So that's the first thing. And then you go on to ask yourself, can I do something about it? So obviously, if someone says something mean to you, you can sit them down and be like, listen, this is how I felt about that. Didn't appreciate that. Let's have a little conversation about that.
Yeah.
And then the third is, can I accept its presence in my life and do something despite not being able to change it? So then he talks a lot about acceptance, doesn't it? Yeah. Like radical acceptance.
Again, it's just like assigning meaning to certain situations. So for example, like he said there, right, your wife said something horrible to you, and then all of a sudden he's jumped to the conclusion that she doesn't love me anymore. Like that's the meaning that he's assigned to that situation. He also made the example of like when it's raining. He was like, rain isn't inherently bad, but sometimes people can be really pissed off if it's raining outside. Yeah. But then that all depends on where you are in your life. So for example, if you're trying to sunbathe, that's really annoying. Do you know what I mean? Because you're lying on wet grass, it's just ugh. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you just love gardening and all that, like rain is the best thing ever.
It's pain.
So he was like, it's literally down to perspective and how you assign meaning to certain things. So he was like, going through life is a constant reevaluation of how you're assigning meaning to different events. And I have to do that with myself sometimes. I think something really interesting that he said is like, he sees his like brain as kind of like a separate entity, even though it's like a part of his body.
Calls it Becky.
He calls his brain Becky, right?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I don't like him.
You don't like him?
No.
You know what? Tell me why.
I feel like the maddest thing that he got from his son was simplifying his problems. Why is he making it all complicated again? I don't think he needs to quantify everything and call his brain
he was
Becky.
basically saying that like the way that his brain works, he thinks it's like the best and worst thing in the world. So for example, he said something like, he'd made his wife a spreadsheet based on how often they wash the dark clothes and mixed clothes in a way that if she does it on certain days, they are now helping the environment. How can you make a tedious task even worse? Do you know what I mean? Like, I hate washing clothes. I hate hanging it up. I hate folding them at the end. And you've made it worse because now I have to follow a spreadsheet.
I'm being judged by it.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, exactly.
I see where he is at 29. Smart lad.
I mean,
Very
he's
smart
not
lad.
29 anymore.
He's a don.
Smart guy.
Yeah, no. I think that's very interesting. And I think, so, to backtrack, going on from what you said with therapists and these people that sell self-help books about happiness, personally, because I've read a lot, I've read 2. I think they're evil people.
Expand.
I think selling how to try and make someone a better person or selling a service to try and make someone fix themselves, I think that's evil. I think therapy should be free, and obviously it is free, but there's a massive wait list for the NHS.
2 years, bro.
So then, like, if you are going to privatize it, but then, like, to sit down in a room and then be like, oh, so you want to be a better person, but you don't know how to do that, well, I'm going to charge you 25, 30, whatever an hour. I just think it's a bit...
Bro, it's like 45, 50, 60 pounds
I just think it's a bit cheeky.
I was like, where are you finding these £25 therapists? Put them in the link below.
Yeah, you're too right. I just think it's a bit cheeky. Like, I understand that people need to make a living and stuff like that, though. But I just think it's a bit cheeky. And then to say someone wants to find happiness and then you're selling it on shelves for £6.99 when really and truly,
it's a bit mad.
We should just try and make people happy.
But this podcast is free.
What, on Spotify?
Apple?
It's on both, I think. Yeah, it's on both.
I hear it. You probably need a subscription for them, but I hear it. But what I do take from it, from what you said, is with this happiness thing, a lot of it, I believe, is looking inward. So a lot of people try and put sadness down to external factors that they can't control. So, like, say if it was like weight, it's like, oh, I'm overweight, but that's because of my parents or that's because of genetics. And instead of getting over that, you'll never be able to find solace or happiness through that because you can't look inward. So you can take some acceptance, but then be like, okay, but what can I do to help do that? And then, I don't know, if it's lose a pound in a month, blah, 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 you can find accomplishments and then happiness through that. So I hear what you're saying. But the whole happiness talk, man, like, it being a choice, I think it's crazy.
I think it, the way he's put it, it is so insane. And I think as well, when you say stuff like happiness is a choice, you're like whittling people's problems down very, very small, and it makes it seem like, because choices are instantaneous, right? So if I've decided, right, I'm going to go to the gym this morning, I've decided that that's done. If I've decided what I'm going to have eggs for breakfast, that's done. So it makes it seem like, okay, happiness is a choice, it's done. Whereas that's not the case. So what he does say in the podcast is like, you can choose now to make steps to reach that goal.
Okay, yeah.
It's like training your brain as a muscle.
Yeah.
To work through the problem rather than accepting the problem and just sitting with that.
Rather than like, it's not like, okay, right, I'm going to be happy, so I just need to shit myself out.
Exactly, yeah.
He's like, right, there might literally be 1,000,001 steps for you to get to that end goal, but it's being intentional to make sure that you're taking a step each time, rather than just trying to jump to the end goal. Because I think he used this really bizarre analogy again, where he was like, well, if there's a tiger trying to attack you, you wouldn't then be thinking about what you're having for dinner. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't
sit there and appreciate the beauty of a tiger because your brain is telling you to freak out and be scared.
Yeah, because there's a tiger trying to eat you, and that's what you're. Oh, you said that, but what you also said was like, if the tiger was going to attack you, that's the first problem that you're going to deal with then, rather than after that and after that and after that. You literally deal with each problem that you've got faced at a time. So I think with stuff like this as well, I was like, oh, when we talk about it, I'm gonna have to make sure that I'm not trying to like explain or advise on what he said. I'm just trying to give my points, because like at the end of the day, I'm not going to do it justice. He's a super, super intelligent guy. But also, again, I like what you said in terms of like, you've just made it super, super complicated. Like, I don't like sometimes that people try and overcomplicate just things in life all the
Oh,
time.
I'm the worst.
Like, oh yeah, well, I've made an algorithm for it.
Yeah,
or
I'm
I've
the
made
worst.
a formula for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, but I'm like, not everything has to be like, you know what, scientists are the best and worst people in the world because they're so smart and they can give so much like knowledge and intelligence on certain things, but everything's science.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Miss me.
Like sometimes they've like quantified or like put an algorithm to you opening the door.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, bro, just
Don't need it. He sounds interesting, and I'd like to know his background, because I'd like to know if, like, not to say that it super matters, but I'd like to know if he's middle class, if he's whatever type of education he's gone through, whatever type of university he's gone through, just because what he's going through, like, that doesn't sound like happiness to me. Like 29, having a yard and a wife and 2 children that's not happiness to me.
He literally said that he could ask his wife what car do you want. She'd say, and he's like, okay, give me 2 days.
And he'd jump on the market.
And I'm like, I don't think I could ever relate to that.
Depends what car.
Do you know what I mean?
Facebook Marketplace has got some deals, trust me.
You want a little Peugeot 108
Too
with
right.
3 wheels?
But yeah, man.
You got it, babe.
I feel his background to, like, and I think it would be fascinating to see, like, what is his parents or what he was exposed to and what type of happiness that he saw as a young age, because genuinely that type of like oh, congratulations, homeowner.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
But
Guys,
like
homeowner.
it's funny
Can
because
you this?
it's funny because I was speaking to my Marge not too long ago, and I was like, I want to get a house, so I want to get a house, and I was like, but like, is that it? Is that like the final step of like me completing like human life? Like, I've got a blessed job, I'm getting paid kind of well. Like, I just get this house now, get my own roof over my head, and then like I'm on the board now, I'm on the Monopoly board. I just need to start building hotels or whatever. You get me? And then my mum was like, my mum's similar to me, and like this is why I can't really relate to my man, because we're both simplistic to the point where it's kind of embarrassing. So like if we're watching a sad film and we're crying, we'll just be like, yeah, turn it off. Like switch it off. So like them ones. So like if my mum's like I'm having a bad day. I'm having oh mum, I'm having a bad day at work. Alright, cool, leave. Go home, or say you work from home. Yeah, too right. No, but like super, like it's them ones.
If there's a problem, get rid of it.
Yeah, I'm really bad at, like, sometimes I'm kind of good with empathy, and sometimes I'm terrible, and I can't really see it. But like, it would be fascinating to see like what this guy's gone through, because like owning a house at 29 ain't crazy happiness for me. Like, I'd much rather. It's interesting because Darren Brown did a book about happiness, and he says 2 things. He says, all right, cool. You can either be happy and be successful, and you can like go out, or you can be happy and you can stay with your grandma. And obviously the first one is like instant gratification of happiness. And then the second one might be a delayed happiness of, oh shit, my grandma passed away 10 years and there was one night where I didn't go out and we just spent the night together. So like the turmoil of happiness is never direct. It can change, transgress, it can be anything. So like, shout out to getting a house at 29, but I can't empathize with that. And to say that it's a choice, definitely what you were saying, I think it kind of puts a lot of people in the shit like, yo, do I ever wake up and choose not to be happy?
Yeah, like why would I, like people like, why would I wake up and intentionally choose this? So what you said interestingly is like you can't relate to someone like that, because like, again, as I said, he's a CEO, he's done all this, like I can't relate like this.
He did say that he came from nothing though. He did very briefly, it wasn't his backstory to life that he was given, so he only briefly said like, but I think to go from having nothing to being 29. Sometimes when people are advising you though, sometimes you like to go on people who are more on a level playing field.
Super.
Because you're like, you know what, I can get on board with that. And somebody who's also spoken about like happiness and depression, who's still, I'm not on the same playing field because they're a celebrity, but they're not CEO level, is Pete Davidson, who's going out with Kim Kardashian. Well, go on with that, by the way. Yeah. But do you know what I mean? But I'm not going to digress. And he, like, a bit of background on Pete Davidson. Like, so his dad died in the 9/11 bombings, and he's clinically depressed. He doesn't hide that. He's like, every day I wake up and I'm depressed. And he said he also goes on the premise that his brain is almost like a separate entity. Like, obviously it's a part of him, but just as your body can have stuff wrong with it, like sometimes your brain can have stuff wrong with it. In like cognitive psychology, they call it like faulty thinking processes. Like sometimes trauma or adverse events can affect your brain, which means that your brain then starts thinking, like, I'm really, really, really dumbing this down, but like your brain starts adopting thinking patterns that aren't necessarily beneficial or helpful to you. So he was like, I have to trick my brain every morning into feeling that I'm happy and that I'm okay. So he goes, right, there's certain things that I do or certain things that I say to myself to stop me feeling like this way. My brain's going off and doing one thing, so I'm having to say like, no.
I hear it.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's incredible, where he's like, it's an active thing that he's always doing. And like at the end of the day, he is
literally like exercise.
And at the end of the day, it is clinically depressed. But again, as Mo said on the podcast, it's something that he's having to train or tell himself and stuff like that. And like he knows, again, there is a certain degree of personal responsibility that he has to take.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, he's clinically depressed. That is his situation. He's like, well, what am I going to do about that? Which I quite like, because it is always comforting to know that as a human being, like you do have a level of empowerment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that you don't have to be in that situation. And I think that's a double-edged sword, really. And that's kind of what he was saying, in it. Like, he understands that telling someone that they have responsibility for how they feel can be something that's really quite shocking.
Especially when people have gone through such traumatic events, do you know what I mean?
That's what, well, this
he was like,
what
I lost my son, or like, let's say someone was raped, and you're like, well, be happy.
This is exactly what it is. Misrepresented, season 1, episode 2. We chat about mental health, and I say, I don't think I can say that I can claim that I can be anxious. No, I suffer from anxiety because I've heard of people suffering from anxiety, and I don't think I can ever relate to that, because I'm hearing proper things. I'm hearing like proper things where people are like, oh shit, this has happened and this is how I feel. I was like, oh yeah, I went to London one time and I had a suitcase, and I was on the tube at rush hour, and then I just saw loads of people and I kind of froze up. But I was like, I don't think that's anxiety, and I don't think if I weigh that up to what people have actually told me, I can claim it as anxiety.
But the thing is, it is still anxiety, just because it doesn't manifest itself in terms of like chronic anxiety. Like some people live with anxiety on a daily basis. Like you can still experience anxiety. Like people can still experience depression without it being chronic or clinical depression. Do you know what I mean? And loads of different things take different sorts of forms. Like when you look at anxiety in like the DSM, which is basically the Diagnostic Statistics Manual for Mental Health Disorders, you have anxiety, and then you go all the way down, and there's loads of different types of anxiety. So you've got GAD, which is general affective, general anxiety disorder. And then you've got other stuff like social anxiety. You've got loads of different types of anxieties, and it just manifests itself in different ways.
And it can be acute, it can be minor,
100%.
But it still affects the way you're handling the situation, dealing with the situation, whatever, which is interesting, because I was actually having this discussion with someone the other day about how there's certain cultures and societies out there that don't acknowledge any of the disorders, like depression,
100%.
any anxiety, anything like that. However, I think I find when I've heard about these cultures and like looked into them a little bit more, they often have ways built into their society that helps them deal with emotions, like extreme emotions, like depression, anxiety, and things like that. And even when I've gone like traveling and stuff, listening to how other people from different cultures talk about problems, or talking about big tasks that need to be managed, like finding your purpose, finding out what you want to do with your life, like all the stuff that might give me anxiety and sit here and be like, shit, like that's a bit overwhelming. I've sat and spoken to, for example, Shuba's dad, who literally has a way with words like I've never even experienced in my life, where he can sit down and make a problem seem so small and manageable, which I think is what Mo was trying to do. But like at first I'm resisting the conversation. I'm resisting, like, no, it's not that easy. Like, it's
because
you're
trying to like, sometimes it feels like you're trying to dumb down my problem.
Such a big problem for me, and like so overwhelming that I like can't think of it like that. But then the more I'm listening, the more he's almost like giving me the tools to work through the problem in my head. And I think there are cultures out there that do that, but as a westernized place, we like to put a price tag on things. We like to put medication towards it. We like to put people in boxes where you're like, oh, you've got to medicate in this and this way, and that's going to cost this amount of money. Oh, you need therapy, you need this and this. But if you think about it, if the teachings that Mo has done throughout that podcast was integrated into, say, for example, the school system, people would have better ways to manage and deal with the way they're thinking about things from an earlier age. So it wouldn't become such a...
I still don't even think it's a societal problem in terms of like a me, you and Elijah or whatever problem. I do think it is like the bigger macro structures where they make it an issue. So for example, if you call up your GP and say, okay, I'm feeling depressed.
Oh yeah, there's no support.
They'll just throw tablets at you. They'll be like, okay, right, you can either join a waiting list or you can take 40 millisirtuline. Do you know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is, we're on a waiting list for therapy, and it's like
2 years.
2 years. Imagine if you were taught that in school, you wouldn't have to wait for a therapist to tell you.
Yeah.
If your parents were teaching you this way of thinking, if the school system were teaching you this way of thinking, then you could have the tools to manage like the way you're feeling about things, and you wouldn't be as reliant on the system. And therefore people maybe of the extreme standpoints of it, they would be able to get the help and access to the help they need.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that has a contributing factor in the West.
I mean, I think loads of people take to this differently. Like me as like a quite practical and pragmatic person, I quite like that, as in like to the point where I like to get stuff done myself. I don't like to rely on other people. So I'm like, you know what? I like that because you show me problem A is this and I do this. So like I'm like, that's cool. Like I can actively do stuff to help myself. Whereas for other people, some people just don't think and feel like that. So it is harder. But yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting thing to bring up because I'm like, okay, like one, is that true? And two, do you just think it's insensitive? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So...
And both can be true at the same time.
So
like...
just throwing it out here, guys, we're like not saying like this is the way to go. This is like, that's not it at all. We're just basically trying to explain our thoughts and our understanding from what we've got from this podcast and from this discussion. And we kind of want to know your thoughts about it. Because like even now we're just speaking through our thoughts. Like I'm sure if you've made notes, like I've changed my mind 4 times.
Yeah, like we.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I like that. Oh, I hate that.
Even
when
we were talking about, we
Yeah.
got completely different things at the same podcast, and I think like if people give it a listen and find something in that, then happy days. Like if that helps them in any way, then great. But
I said that I didn't like the guy. I think I think there is a lot of truth in what he's saying, and I do think he says some pretty relatable stuff. That was just some stuff that I didn't rate. Yeah. But that's just me being difficult.
But then again, you've heard it from a third party, so listen to it.
I'll give him a listen.
We're just
not mowing it.
We're just 2 girls here that like don't like Karens. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, do you know what I mean?
But it's also okay to change your mind.
Why did you say girls?
I thought that.
Interesting.
Thank you for saying that.
You're a lady. You're a homeowner.
I'm a homeowner. I know. You know what? I like that. Yeah. Why did I say girls?
I was gonna let it slide.
I think it's fine when I say it because if that's what I say, it's when other people say it to me. Like at work as well. Like I hate it where, like, because I'm a manager and I used to go out to places and then I'd ask to like see someone for a meeting or whatever, and like they'd radio and they'd be like, yeah, there's a girl down here for you, and I'd turn round, but I knew full well they would talk about me, and I'm like,
you what?
Head bomb.
Listen here, you trick ass bitch. Do you know what I mean?
It's a quick
But yeah, it's a bit mad.
We've got to get the daily dose of feminism on here.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks
We're not going to get through an episode
little
about
segue.
it. But yeah,
and next we'll discuss why we're not using the word bitch anymore. Well, women can, but men can't.
Exactly. You know what, Elijah? You can come back, bro. You can come back.
I'm a feminist.
But, yeah. You know what? I've really enjoyed this episode.
It's hard.
I feel like we did a lot of talking.
Yeah.
Elijah's here for the ride. He thinks it's misread.
I'm here to listen. No. It was a good. I'm trying to get into what the 2 guys said. Mo and was it Stephen Gaffar?
Stephen Bartlett.
Stephen Bartlett.
Bartlett.
And then what was Mo's last name?
I
Gorfat.
think.
It's interesting, just because I used to read a lot of. I didn't used to read a lot of, but I read 2 books about self-help and happiness, and then I read a blog about why self-help books are lame. And yeah, man,
You gotta be careful with them blogs though, because I did a quick Google like as well before we started, and one of the things it recommended for you to do, it said wake up on your own terms. I was like, it does not work.
So you have
like
to understand that people who write blogs are just like me and you. So this man could be unemployed.
That's what I'm saying.
Of course you're waking up on
But
your
you
own
might be.
terms. You've
That's
got
what
no
I'm
obligations.
saying.
Do you know what I mean?
It actually gave a little description of what it means by that.
Tell us.
It said, most of us have an alarm clock program because the expectations of others, a workplace, a school, or a waking child. That's probably not going to change, but that doesn't mean we have to lose control over our mornings in the process.
Wild.
Wake up just a little bit early and establish an empowering, meaningful morning routine. Fuck off.
That's well, they're saying wake up a little bit earlier.
What a load of shit. Yeah, but the only way I'm going to wake up earlier is if I have an alarm
Another
clock.
alarm clock.
Yeah, but I'm not waking up earlier of my own accord.
Yeah, man.
It doesn't
Here we
work
go.
like that.
Hold back a complaint. The next time you want to lash out in verbal complaint towards a person, a situation, or yourself, don't. Instead, humbly keep it to yourself.
Yeah, that's mad.
No, thank you.
That's mad.
Do you know how much I like complaining?
That's crazy, mad.
I love it. I find it funny. Like, if I'm complaining about something, I'm not actually taking it that deep. Like,
Yeah, that's funny.
it's just me being.
We should
like,
do a series on
joking it off.
blogs. On blogs of how to
This
stay
is
happy.
like #1 on Google. Like the first thing that came up. Do you know how many people are going to click on this and be like, okay, I've got to do all of this?
Google do better. I hear it though. That's my happiness.
That is your happiness.
It's Google
Biting your tongue
blogs.
all the time. That is it.
That's
But yeah,
happiness.
that's happiness.
Sounds like prison. Prison for the mind.
But yeah, guys, that was the No Cones Club podcast. Like,
Featuring
File.
Misrep.
yeah, featuring Miss
File.
Rep, guys. Like,
File.
share, subscribe,
File.
all of that jazz.
Do it, man.
Till next time.
Big love.